Hello everyone, my name is Panagiotis Kosmas and today I will share with you the results of our latest research regarding the use of virtual reality in higher education and SMEs. That's the outline of my presentation. I will begin with an introduction to the topic and I'll give you a short overview of the use of virtual reality in Cyprus and Finland. I will move on the methodology used for this study and I'll focus on the basic findings and based on the qualitative data we collected. And I will conclude with some future directions and implications for future work regarding the use of virtual reality in this context. So first introduction. The use and adoption of virtual reality solutions have increased rapidly due to recent technological developments. There are a lot of initiatives in developing and adopting virtual reality, not only in education, but also in other fields, in industry and in other fields of research. Mainly our study focuses on the following aspects. First, to present the overview and the state of the art of virtual reality in higher education and SMEs, and second, to address the main opportunities and challenges and which of the training needs in applying and adopting virtual reality in higher education and SMEs. The overarching goal of this study is to boost the use of virtual reality technologies in the context of higher education, business management, and related studies, and contribute to the broader acceptance of this kind of technology. Virtual reality has been around since the 70s, but it turned into a commercialized technology during the last 5 years. Virtual reality evolution was deducted by the need to improve human-machine interaction through realistic and multi-sensory channels. There has been a vast improvement in virtual reality technologies and applications in terms of hardware quality and decreased cost. And we have found a lot of possibilities of virtual reality, not only in education, but also in other fields, such as healthcare, real estate, marketing, architecture, product design, cultural heritage, corporate training, and higher education, of course. So now let me give you a small, short overview and some good practice examples that we found in both countries, starting from Cyprus. We have found some courses, mainly STEM courses, where students can work with virtual reality technologies. There are a lot of research labs and university labs focusing on the use and development of virtual technology. And we have found some examples in architecture and real estate, which make use of different virtual reality devices. In Finland, the virtual reality technology is also developed and studied extensively in Finnish higher education institutions. In 2016, we had a launch of Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, which is commonly used in many different fields. And since 2017, more than 100 companies in Finland focus on the development of virtual reality and augmented reality technology. Regarding the methodology we used for this research, a qualitative approach has been adopted in order to identify key topics related to virtual reality adoption in higher education and SMEs. We have conducted semi-structured interviews with 16 participants in both countries, 8 participants from Finland and 8 participants from Cyprus. All the participants have extensive experience in using virtual reality in their professional practice. Based on the qualitative data gathered from the interview sessions in both countries, Cyprus and Finland, we summarized the strengths of the use of virtual reality, and based on the interviews with the use of virtual reality, users can immerse in both realistic and fictional virtual spaces. The virtual reality gives the opportunity for a full and detailed view of the place. Users can interact with and simulate any content. Virtual reality promotes the self-guided exploration and the autonomy in learning procedure. Users can experience things that are impossible in face-to-face conditions. Virtual reality promotes self-determination and motivation. And last but not least, virtual reality increases students' engagement. Additionally, the participants highlighted some important challenges and barriers in the use of virtual reality. They emphasized actually the cost of devices, the compatibility, the motion sickness, the discomfort and the negativity might some people have in using and adopting virtual reality in their daily professional practice. As for the training needs for virtual reality, in both countries, the participants in the interview sessions highlighted that there is a need for high quality level of training, organized training, and a large scale virtual reality training, focusing on the following topics and themes. What is virtual reality and what it enables, how to use virtual reality technically, what virtual reality software platforms already exist in the market, and how virtual reality could potentially affect to the specific industry, for example, in construction, in education, in architecture, and so on, and give them a clear understanding of other emerging technologies that could be potentially be utilized with virtual reality. Concluding with the discussion, it is important to say, based on our data from the interview sessions, the findings show that experts in both higher education institutions and SMEs anticipate that virtual reality technology allows finding new ways of working and opens new business opportunities, such as visualization, simulation, training, and remote collaboration. However, there are a lot of challenges and difficulties in implementing and adopting such new technologies. Finally, the findings showed that awareness and skills need to be increased on multiple levels, such as on essential IT skills, content creation, installing and setting up the virtual reality environments, and business educational potentials of virtual reality. Some implication and future research topics based on our data and based on previous research. Future work should explore and compare effective ways to transform current ways of learning and working in virtual reality. Future research could also invest in applications that will provide the learners and employees with a chance to interact with the virtual world and each other seamlessly and ubiquitously. Of course, there is a lack of awareness and practical training offerings to fill the knowledge gap to unlock many of these benefits. So, future research tries could also focuses on find the ways on offering high quality trainings for virtual reality, and of course should find out optimal ways to transfer key knowledge of virtual reality to both higher education and business. Thank you all for your attention.